There are definitely things that work in PT that that I know you specialize in. What would you say is working really well right now from a marketing perspective in PT? Like, what are some, like, these are just non-negotiables. You got to be doing these things, and you got to be doing them really, really well right now.
Yeah, there's, in our book, I really researched this, broke this down. What is the top 10% of practices really doing well? When it comes to like just a strategy, first off, the key thing to really look at is how can you be more discovered online? That's so critical in today's world. So how are you showing up in Google, and not just at the top of Google? You got to be all over Google. So you've got to be at the very top, which is now, depending on what's happening, could be AI search. Then you've got Google Ads, then you got your local pack section, and then you get your top 10 organic section. So you've got 4 or 5 potential spots on page 1 of Google that you could be in. If you can command all 5 of those, wow, you're going to get really noticed. So online discoverability is massive. And even with social media, so social search optimization is another thing to really work on today. So how are your Facebook, Instagram, TikTok profiles set up and linked in a way that is favorable for your practice to be discovered online for different searches on social media? So all that comes under online discoverability. So the better a clinic does at that, they really start to rocket with the amount of new patients that they're coming in. And then secondly, what you got to realize is that even though we have all these different channels to work with out there, people's key decision still comes heavily off of your website. So people start to pique their interest as you are found more online, but you have to develop their interest through your website. And that's where you really need to be able to speak to them, make your website very professional, show what it's like in the clinic. So you have great custom photography and videography on your website in there. You have lots of testimonials, case studies, reviews. You're speaking specifically to someone's pain. If they're coming in with a rotator cuff injury, do you have something about shoulders and rotator cuffs on your pages specifically? So you're speaking to that person. And that goes back to what we call website conversions. So let's just say a clinic can get 1,000 people a month coming to their website. Most practices are going to get about 2% of those people actually turning into scheduled appointments. Wow. So 1,000 people coming, 20 people actually get on the books. Now, if you could increase that percentage by just 2%, you've doubled your number of new patients coming in from 20 to 40 with a 2% increase. So working on your website's conversions capability can make astronomical changes in the volume of patients coming into your clinic. And so there's a lot of things.
Is that hard to get that kind of viewership, or so to speak, on a website rather quickly? I'm sure it has to be done in concert with a lot of other things that you're doing, because you're trying to drive people there, right?
It takes a little bit of nuance, and it's not necessarily about getting more people to the website. It's just getting more people on the website to stay and to develop their interest and to take action. So that's one of the critical areas. And sometimes, again, what we might fall the trap into is thinking, hey, I've got to get a lot more people to my website. But the people that come to your website already aren't doing anything. So there's different tools and technologies that we can look at for that. One's called a heat map, so you can see how people are actually behaving on your website. How do they scroll down? How do they click on different buttons? And that can tell you a lot about, people are scrolling down to this part of my website and then they don't do anything. All right, well, I need to change something in that part of the website that's boring them and not causing them to look on. So that can give you a lot of information about how to change things on your website. It might be a picture, it might be a button, it might be a headline. So that can give you a lot of data on how to make quick changes in your website. Another thing that we do with like construction of a website is we actually use AI for our graphic designers to look at how people's eyes track on the screen. And so you want to have a real smooth way.
Now you're freaking me out, Neil.
Yeah, man. Right, there's all kinds of crazy stuff out there. But if you know how someone's eyes are going to look around the screen, then you can design headlines, buttons, colors, all kinds of things like that, so that you're going to get people to stay and pay attention and look around, and obviously then take action. So there's a lot of things that you can do with that, but if you work on it, if you know that you need to work on that, you can get help to do it. That's not something you should be doing as a practice owner anyway. You should
Right.
leverage an outside agency or someone to help you with the technical stuff. But like, hey, I've done some tracking on my website. I know that people are not really staying very long. I'm losing a lot of opportunity here. So let me work on that. Right.